All right, we're going to start looking at angles in the coordinate plane. So the first thing, what is a standard position of an angle in the coordinate plane? Notice they will always start at the origin. The initial side will always be the positive x-axis, okay? Couple of things to note. Depending on the direction you're going, if you're going counterclockwise, you will always have a positive angle. If you're going clockwise, you will have a negative angle. So when we draw them, notice how this one's drawn with this kind of loop and then it has an arrow at the end. It's harder to see, but there is an arrow. Okay, so it tells you the direction you went to make the angle, so you'll know if it's a positive or a negative angle when you draw it. So again, our initial side, positive x-axis, and then your terminal side, will have the loop with it there. Remember in our coordinate plane, we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. And as you wrap around, think about your degrees. So one quadrant, you've got 90 degrees, and then you have our 180 over here, 270, and then lastly 360 as you wrap around. It would start at 0, of course, and then go around, okay? So those are the angles we're gonna start to use kind of as we go around to help draw in the other angles. So remember that direction, have that loop. Okay, so let's start here with our example with a 240-degree angle. So again, we're going to start by drawing in that initial side, origin, out the x-axis, just like that. So 240, you know it's going to loop all the way around here. So you've got 180. And then you want to ask yourself, it's kind of up to you, how you want to get to the next. You know it's not going to be all the way here because this is 270. So when I think of this, I think it's 30 less than 270. So we're going to kind of sketch in a 30-degree angle. Now, think about half is 45, so just a little bit down from there. We're not using a protractor. I know it's not exact, so just the best that you can. Make sure you draw the arrow, indicating it's a positive going that direction. All right, now we're going to draw a 500-degree angle. So 500, now, if we remember up here, one whole loop around is 360. So that means when we start drawing that initial side, arrow, okay? So we're going to start here. We're going to loop all the way one time around. That is 360 degrees. Okay, so you can take that from the 500 and you're left with 140. And that's the remaining angle that we need to draw. So again, we're going to go 140, so there's 90. So take 90 from 140 and you're left with 50 more. So we're going to have to go 50. 45 again is half, so just slightly below half there. And there we go. And there's your arrow indicating it was a positive angle. Okay, all right, and then lastly, we're going to do a negative 50-degree angle. So again, we're going to start positive x-axis. Okay, now because it's negative, we are going to go clockwise this time. Okay, so we're just going to kind of loop down here. Let me turn here for a second. So again, 45 is half, just under half there. There's your terminal side. Okay, and there's your 50-degree angle. Okay, all right, so it's drawing the angles in the coordinate plane. We are also going to look at what are known as coterminal angles. So these are going to be two angles that are both going to be in standard position, so they'll always have the same initial side, but they will also have the same terminal side. So notice our first set here, we have our alpha and our beta, so some Greek letters again that we're using. They're both arriving at that same terminal side, but one's going counterclockwise and one is going clockwise. So this would be a positive angle that forms it, and then the negative angle. Okay, so those are coterminal. Another way is if you have, say, this a beginning acute angle here, right? But what happens if you add 360 while you're looping around? You end up with that same angle. And really, you could add 360 many times and still get that same angle. You could also subtract 360 to get that angle also. Okay, so 360 degrees is important. It's going to allow us to find all of our coterminal angles. So for our next example, we're going to find one positive and one negative. So we'll start with our negative 45. Let's start with our positive angle. So I'm going to add 360. So if I go one time around, it will have that same terminal side, and that's going to give me 315 degrees. Since it starts negative, I'm just going to subtract 360 from it. That'll give us negative 405. Okay, and that will be our negative coterminal. Now there are infinite number that you can give me because you can keep adding 360 and subtracting 360, but just give me the closest ones. It's easiest so that we're kind of on the same page. Okay, that one, then B. So we have our 395 degrees. Okay, so this is bigger than 360, so I'm going to start by subtracting it. We do one lower, and that's going to give me 35 degrees, so that's a positive coterminal. And then if I take that 35 degrees and I subtract 360 again, okay, you're going to get negative 325 degrees. So there's your negative and your positive coterminal angles.